Why is it that as soon as some people get behind the wheel of a car, their brains go out the window? Bad drivers are everywhere. And they're completely out of control.
Speed now 100 miles an hour.
$137.50.
They're in the city.
I don't want this on TV.
And in the country. They drive cars, trucks, buses, even motorcycles. They're capable of doing or saying just about anything.
Is there any way that we can sell this to test?
You may think your mother-in-law is the world's worst driver.
Isn't that ridiculous?
Or maybe the teenage kid down the street. Well, hold on to your steering wheel. The worst is yet to come.
Good evening. I'm Sheriff John Bunnell. In my 27 years in law enforcement, I thought I'd seen every type of bad driving imaginable. But tonight, you're going to meet the worst of the worst. The most dangerous drivers ever to get behind the wheel. You better buckle up. You're in for the ride of your life. You've heard of the world's scariest police chases. Now here are some of the craziest. We start with the driver who just doesn't understand the basic principles of how to escape from the law. With 30 feet on his left and 30 feet on his right, he decides to go right up the middle. Watch again. With a clear path on either side of him, he plows straight into the police car. Then he gets out and runs straight into the arms of the police. Next time, he should hire a getaway driver. We've all seen drag racing, but how about racing in drag? Here the cops are chasing a man dressed in women's clothing.
Can you pull over for our police unit?
Well, when I get the makeup off, I will.
Okay. You know what? That's not going to bother us at all.
It ain't, but it's going to bother me.
24 minutes later, the chase finally comes to an end.
Driver, step out of the car. Hands up, hands up. Take 3 steps out. 3 steps.
And there's our suspect, a 6-foot-tall man wearing a tight-fitting dress and nylon stockings.
When the officers first pulled him over, they had a wig and makeup on and was dressed in women's clothing, so that apparently is the reason that he didn't want to pull over for officers in the first place.
Even though the suspect turned out to be anything but dangerous, every cop knows that you can never be too careful when pulling over a bad driver. Now for another truly bizarre police pursuit. This one proves that you don't have to be a wanted criminal for the cops to be chasing you. All you have to be is a little confused. Like this woman, who was completely oblivious to the fact that the police had been pursuing her for nearly 10 miles.
She indicated that she observed the red lights and the sirens, but she didn't hear us ask for her to pull over and stop.
I had no idea why they were stopping, why they followed me. I had no idea whatsoever.
It's hard to imagine what was going through her mind when she saw the cops behind her.
I had no idea. I thought they were escorting me home.
Well, let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she hasn't been driving that long.
I've driven for the last 100 years. And I shall continue.
Not if you continue to disobey the law. Orange County, California. Here we see not one, but 2 senior citizens on the loose. After committing a minor traffic violation, they failed to realize that there was a parade of police behind them, ordering them to pull over. The chase finally comes to an end in front of this retirement home. Police surround the car and tell the women to get out, but the little old ladies refuse to cooperate and just sit there. The only way the police can get their attention is by breaking the window. In the end, the 65-year-old woman is charged with driving without a license and evading arrest. But if you think the cops always end up on top, think again. Here's one chase where they literally ended up on the bottom. During a high-speed pursuit through a quiet neighborhood, the suspect veered off the street and into a yard. His car flew over the pool. The officer's car didn't. Marilee Ibarra went outside and found a cop struggling to get out of his submerged vehicle.
As he swam to the top, he blew out bubbles like a fish would, but also started letting out a long stream of words that you cannot repeat.
Once he dried off, even the cop could see the humor in the mishap.
Is this good footage or what?
This is great footage.
It took tow trucks and emergency crews more than 5 hours to yank the squad car out of the deep end. As a result of the accident, the officer was given a new nickname by his fellow cops, Aquaman. Automobiles are powerful machines, and when they run amok and smash into unmovable objects like houses or buildings, those objects suddenly become movable. Very few things can stop an out-of-control vehicle. All you can really do is try to get out of the way. Like in this case, the cashier is going about her business, thinking it's just another night at the convenience store. But see the car careening around in the parking lot? I have a feeling we're about to meet a very bad driver.
It scared me to death. It kind of shook me up. It sounded like a bomb going off, literally. I felt like little sprays of glass come at me and...
Fortunately, neither the cashier nor the driver was hurt. Here's another driver who thinks convenience stores would even be more convenient with a drive-through window. Fortunately, the cashier was far enough away from the impact, or she might have been killed. But the driver wasn't through yet. Watch as he enters the store, and then makes off with the ATM machine. This guy wasn't just a bad driver, he was also a thief. Meet Bob Scott, mayor of Sioux City, Iowa. He's holding a press conference at City Hall, confident and fully prepared for anything they can throw at him. Except maybe this.
There's a better suggestion.
You're looking at a Pontiac that has just tried to crash Bob's press conference. Watch as the driver decides to pull out and find a better parking space. Outside is proof that you can't fight City Hall, and you can't drive through it either. Most pizza parlors promise delivery to your door. This one went a little further. As the delivery girl pulled into the driveway, she stepped on the gas instead of the brake and destroyed just about all of the family's worldly possessions. No dinner for this family. I hope she wasn't expecting a tip.
Coming up.
Look out. Run!
Warning, bad drivers can be hazardous to your health. Plus, a dangerous combination. Bad drivers and bad driving conditions. Then later, the worst drivers ever caught on tape.
When it rains or snows, we should all try to stay off the road as much as possible. But in the case of bad drivers, well, they shouldn't even be allowed out of the garage. Like this guy. Watch the way he handles the slippery road conditions, with speed and lots of it. This driver's a one-man demolition derby.
You don't know how the tires are going to take to the snow, you know.
Apparently not. Let's watch again as our insurance rates go up. Here we go, up on the curb. There's one sign, a car, another sign, and one more car for good measure.
I'd rather hit the cars than lie a person. Anytime, I guess that's just natural.
And my coworker just came in and told me that my car had been hit. So that's all I know.
It's for sale.
Yeah, I wish he would have told us. I'd like to get a new car out of it. I wanted to come back and hit it again.
This footage comes from a video store in Minnesota where the employees working the counter just happened to be pointing their camera toward a dangerous intersection. Let's listen in.
Every car that's coming over the hill here, it's got, even the truck is losing it. Look out! Oh!
If you think that was a close call, wait till you see what happens next.
Everybody that's made that turn is hit. Oh, there goes another! Watch it, dude!
Watch again in slow motion. The pedestrian barely gets out of the way of the sliding sedan. The good news is the driver didn't hit him. The bad news is...
Whoa, that's an accident.
When driving in the snow, you should reduce your speed and remain at a safe distance from the vehicle in front of you. It's an important lesson that some drivers must learn the hard way.
Here we see how one little accident on an icy road can lead to a major pileup. With such hazardous conditions, you would think that these drivers would slow down a little. Then again, maybe not.
We've got 6 vehicles in one spot, and I think we got a few up ahead.
Now the road is completely stacked up with cars. But that doesn't stop these drivers.
Right now! Stop here.
Despite all the damage, nobody gets hurt.
Everybody had to slow down for the first accident, and maybe a little bit too much excessive speed. I guess everybody applied too much to their brakes, and everybody just went sliding.
Okay, how hard can it be to make a left-hand turn in the snow? Apparently very hard. With so many bad drivers on the road, Officer Tony Cahill is called to the scene.
People are driving far too fast for the road conditions, sliding on the ice that's underneath the snow.
One after another, they spin out of control on the slippery corner.
People forever amazing me what they can and can't do with their vehicles.
Like this driver. First he loses control of his car, then he loses a piece of his car. After watching one driver after another fail to negotiate the turn, all Officer Cahill can do is throw up his hands in frustration and give up. This unlucky motorist is stuck in one of the worst places imaginable, a narrow Ohio bridge known for freezing over in winter. The action is captured by the dashboard camera on the patrol car that's pulling up to assist. The trooper gets out to lend a hand. The two men have no idea that a trucker just lost control of his 18-wheeler. Reacting in a split second, the trooper pulls the driver to safety. Watch again. The trooper notices the truck going into a jackknife. The impact is devastating, sending the stalled car careening into the guardrail. Due to the trooper's quick thinking, neither man was hurt. That's what happens when drivers go too fast in the snow. Here's what happens when they go too fast in the rain.
Run!
This is called hydroplaning, and it nearly cost this man his life.
Well, hydroplaning is something that occurs during a wet, slippery condition, and it's basically the traction or the tread on your tires are filled with water to where it's actually lifted your vehicle off of the roadway. And what's going to happen is when you apply your brakes or you go to make a turn, you're not going to have any friction between your tires and the roadway. And it's going to cause your vehicle just to continue in motion in the direction it was going.
Watch closely as bad driving nearly claims another victim.
Whenever a police officer pulls someone over for a traffic violation, the driver usually has some kind of excuse. And believe me, I've heard them all. Or so I thought.
There are a lot of ways to get out of a speeding ticket. This driver knows none of them. Watch what happens when Trooper Stephen Murray walks up to this vehicle.
What's the date on that? I'll have to plead guilty if I got to work because I can't take the Ford to take the day off. Damn. Now just give me the damn thing. Let me get out of here. I did do nothing wrong, and I know I did. Now let me get the out of here. I ain't in no hurry, but I did want to get some kills for my dog. It's just about ready to get the out of here. Give me that.
Can I explain it to you, sir, so you'll know what you need to do?
I know what I do. You're ripping me off, and I didn't deserve it because I didn't do nothing wrong. You're probably sitting in that parking lot driving right
When I stopped the vehicle, I went up. The person just started going crazy. Just started yelling and swearing, and I hadn't even told him why I stopped him yet.
Get someone in the 40 miles of whatever it is. I never saw the sign. I saw it 55, and I was doing 57. That's all I know.
Well, he was very upset. Irate would be a good description of this guy. He was totally, like I was ruining his day, and all the planets in the universe just came out of line, and the sky came crashing down.
Now, are you a state or local? Looks like you're a state trooper. Get back and pick up some more guys and run up the deficit on a working man. Just give me the damn thing. Let me get out of here.
What I need you to do is sign the X so I can explain this to you. Green copy's for your record, sir.
I don't... All right.
White copy needs to be mailed in within 20 days.
Okay.
Make sure you read the...
I can't read, and I put this stuff away. I get bills in the mail all the time. I don't even look at it.
Inside, I basically want to laugh, but you can't laugh because then you're losing your control. But everything you're saying was just, it's hilarious. Read the instructions here. This says you have 20 days to respond to this summons. Read the back of this hard copy. This will explain how you can have a trial if you want one. On the back, that'll explain it. Attaches an envelope. See? Put a stamp on that, you mail that in. They'll tell you what to do.
I can afford the stamp.
The fine's right here, sir. It's $137.50.
You're crazy! I can't! You're crazy! My wife took money out of her damn account where she's working to pay my insurance so I wouldn't get picked up. You're crazy!
And he just kept swearing, and just the whole vehicle was rocking from side to side just because he was just going crazy in there.
Insurance so I wouldn't get picked up. You're crazy!
If you don't pick this up, sir, I'm going to summon you for littering.
I'll pick the 100. Are you crazy? I wasn't even speeding, you damn. $100 and some dollars.
There's some more right there.
I've never heard of a fine like that in my life, you.
If I was to come to you and say, this is what happened, most people think you're exaggerating. I mean, you're adding a little bit to it, you know, you're trying to make the case out a little bit more. And here's hard evidence that they actually say this stuff.
Let me get the out of your sight, you damn miserable.
Bye.
Coming up next, get out of the way. The most dangerous drivers of all, drunk drivers.
How much you had to drink tonight? You haven't had anything, okay. I'm going to remove your beer there.
Plus, a cop gets propositioned by a drunk driver.
Is there any way that we can sell this to a check?
And later, road rage caught on tape.
Without a doubt, the most dangerous drivers on the road are those irresponsible people who drink and drive. More than 17,000 people are killed each year by drunk drivers. It is a serious problem that concerns each and every one of us.
And nobody encounters more drunk drivers than the Highway Patrol. As Deputy Sheriff John Lundy of Bonner County, Idaho will tell you, that can be extremely dangerous.
Sheriff 329, my truck's just been struck by a drunk driver. I'm en route. Pretty much instinct is all I had to react with.
All I saw was a vehicle coming towards me, and once I saw the vehicle, I only had reaction time. If I'd have paused or hesitated, I don't think I'd be here.
Sheriff Lundy gives chase.
My sole purpose and focus was on getting the guy stopped. He was coming into a small community there, and my concern was the safety of the public and the other motoring public that were on the road.
A mile down the highway, the driver pulls over. Naturally, Sheriff Lundy is a little upset.
Let me see your hands! Passenger, let me see your hands! Passenger, let me see your hands! You tell the passenger to put their hands up!
Backup arrives, and the sheriff wants answers.
What do you think you're doing? You just hit my truck.
I'm sorry, I was forced over by a car.
What?
I was forced over by a car, dude.
There was no car coming.
There was a car coming.
No, step out of the car.
Let's check the videotape to see if the driver has a valid excuse. You can plainly see that there was no oncoming car. The driver simply lost control of his vehicle.
How much you had to drink tonight?
I haven't had anything.
You haven't had anything, okay? You're slurring your words really bad, okay? I want to make sure you're not too intoxicated to be driving today. What do you got here in your pocket here?
The driver denies having had anything to drink, but look at what the sheriff finds.
I'm going to remove your beer there. You got any weapons?
It's a half-empty beer in the man's pocket.
Turn around, place your hands behind your back. You're under arrest for driving while under the influence of alcohol and hit and run.
As he is handcuffing the suspect, Sheriff Lundy can't help thinking how close he came to being killed.
The main thing that came through my mind at that time was fear. Never, ever did I think that a drunk driver would almost claim my life.
Sheriff Lundy was lucky. At least it was only his truck that was hit by the drunk driver. Trooper Sean Stankus wasn't so fortunate.
How are you doing?
The trooper has pulled over this car for speeding. But watch what happens next. In tremendous pain, Trooper Stankus staggers off to the side of the road. The replay shows that a pickup truck driving way too close to the breakdown lane smacks the officer in the back. The impact is so severe that the side mirror snaps off the speeding truck and lands in the middle lane. The passengers in the car get out to check on the injured trooper, but he's more concerned with catching the driver who ran into him. He hops in his patrol car and gives chase, finally tracking down the driver several miles down the road. A passerby has managed to pull over the truck and detain the driver until police arrive. The hit-and-run driver is arrested for driving while intoxicated. Here we see the cops arresting a woman for outstanding warrants stemming from a previous drunk driving conviction. One of the officers handcuffs her, puts her in the back of a squad car, then goes back to interrogate the driver. But somehow, the double-jointed woman manages to twist her way out of the cuffs, climb into the front seat, and steal the patrol car. She barrels down the highway at speeds in excess of 100 miles per hour while police give chase. Finally, she loses control of the vehicle and skids to a stop. She is charged with escaping from custody, stealing a cop car, fleeing from authorities, and driving with a suspended license. The driver behind the wheel of this car is so drunk, he doesn't realize he is missing a tire.
There is a lot of debris coming off the vehicle. Speed now 100 miles an hour.
Police driving an unmarked squad car are tailing the suspect.
We've not attempted to stop this vehicle yet.
They don't pull over the car for fear that if the driver brakes, the missing wheel will send him into a tailspin. A police helicopter equipped with an infrared camera follows the pursuit. It might look like fireworks, but these are actually burning chunks of metal that are peeling off the vehicle and smashing into the squad car.
Yes, the vehicle now appears to have lost its wheel completely.
Still unaware that he's missing a wheel, the driver now accelerates to over 110 miles per hour. He finally begins to slow down at an interchange.
Half a mile between us. Stand by. Standby vehicle's gone over the centre reservation.
The suspect ends up on an adjoining roadway where police order him over.
Vehicle slowing down. Vehicle now on hard shoulder at speed 30 miles an hour.
The reason for the driver's erratic behavior becomes clear when he gets out of his car. The suspect has consumed 2.5 times the legal limit for alcohol. Officials suspend his license for 4 years and slap him with a $2,000 fine.
1-2-3-4-4-3-2.
Midland, Texas. Trooper Don Williams has just pulled over a woman on suspicion of drunk driving.
We saw a car driving from lane to lane. And we decided to stop the car, see if the driver had been drinking.
You know the alphabet?
Trooper Williams gives her a sobriety test.
H-I-J-K-L-M-N-T.
She fails.
P-Q-R-Z-X-Y-Z-N-T.
Miserably.
You could smell alcohol about her breath and about her person.
You're under arrest for driving while intoxicated. You need to face the car and put your hands behind your back.
Watch what she does to try to get out of it.
It's Don Williams, Officer Don Williams.
Never had a scene. I have had 4 scenes in my life.
I realize that tonight. I believe you're too intoxicated to be driving, so
I'm really not.
turn around. I got to fix the test, okay?
Is there any way that we can celebrate your test?
Through what?
I don't think it registered on me because sometimes people say things that are so off the wall, I think your mind tells you you really didn't hear them, and it took a little while for it to dawn on me what she had said.
Is there any way that we can celebrate your test?
I tried to ask her again what she said.
Through what?
But she never would repeat it. I'd say it ranks in the top 5 at least of the dumbest things I've ever seen somebody try.
We all know that riding a motorcycle can be pretty dangerous, but doing it while intoxicated is inviting disaster. Look at this cyclist swerving all over the road. He's too drunk to realize that the vehicle behind him is a police car, videotaping his every move. After pulling him over, the cops plan to give him a sobriety test until they see how drunk he really is.
Another dangerous thing that people do is letting their emotions determine how they drive. This can lead to obscene gestures, shouting matches, and a whole lot worse.
When I let somebody cut in front of me, and they just cut in front of me like I owe it to them, no thank you, no nothing. All they gotta do is stick up their hand and say thank you to me.
But more often than not, courteous thank yous take a back seat to rude behavior. Here, one car pulls out of a parking space, while another patiently waits for the spot. It's this kind of inconsiderate move that can escalate into road rage. And it's becoming more and more common on our roadways each day.
People are not leaving their problems at home or in the office when they are driving on the road.
What are you beeping at? Everybody's in a hurry to go nowhere. This guy here, he's beeping. This guy here don't thank me. Now I want to go back. I want to slam the guy behind me. I want to slam the guy in front of me.
To settle this dispute, one of the enraged drivers grabs a baseball bat, the other a steel wrench. But the bat-wielding driver also has a can of mace. Overmatched, the driver of the white car makes a hasty retreat. Fortunately, his terrified wife and child manage to escape unharmed.
When we return, catching the bus can be pretty tough when there's no one behind the wheel. Plus,
I don't want this much speed.
a new meaning to getting stuck in traffic. And a driver takes the wildest shortcut ever caught on tape.
Some of the worst drivers on the road are beginners. I know everyone has to learn somewhere, but it's scary to think that these novices are getting their training on the same streets and highways we're driving on with our families.
If you're not sure what I mean, check this out. The cops are pulling over this rookie driver because he just ran a red light. But with the entire street to choose from, look where he decides to pull over, right in front of the sprinklers. His wife gets out of the car and, of course, gets soaked.
I'm sorry, sir. Did you call me?
Yes. Why don't you pull up past the sprinklers?
What?
Here comes her husband to help, but for some strange reason, he also exits through the passenger door and walks right into the sprinklers.
Pause the what?
Pull the car up past the sprinklers.
Pause the what?
Pull the car up past the... Take the car, drive it up past the driveway and the sprinklers.
These confused motorists are graduate students enrolled here in the United States. Needless to say, they're not majoring in driving.
Holy smoke.
She wants him to pull over and park, but he's not quite ready.
Obviously, this guy doesn't have a driver's license.
Your subject has no criminal record, has a valid permit, requires corrective lenses.
Although he's got all the room in the world to park, he just keeps going.
25 left you out there and 25 left you out there also.
Finally, he stops the car.
How long you been driving?
No, that's under 2 months.
Not very good.
Not very good, no.
While the cop is doing his best to remain calm, he looks to the camera as if to say, "Help?"
How much? $68.
Oh my God!
They may think it's funny, but violating traffic laws is no laughing matter.
Failure to properly operate a motorized vehicle can lead to serious consequences. But failure to properly pack that same vehicle can be just as dangerous.
Check out this overstuffed van. The driver has packed it so full of carpet that his vision is impaired. Talk about overloaded. This cyclist couldn't understand why the cops pulled him over. I guess he thought his motorcycle could double as a pickup truck. If you think that's dangerous, take a look at this. The police have noticed that there are too many people crammed inside this tiny car. Watch closely as the family members pile out of the back seat. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plus there's 1 more in the back and 2 more in the front, which makes 8 people wedged into that little sedan. To make matters worse, none of them was wearing a seatbelt. This moving company forgot the 3 most important rules for success in the trucking industry: safety, service, and strong rope. Watch again as the trucker spills his payload all over the highway. Some people are a hazard out on the road. This guy's a hazard in his own driveway. This is a $3,000 Toyota on top of a $300,000 Lamborghini. Now it's a worthless Lamborghini with a $3,000 hood ornament.
Quite honestly, I don't know how it has happened.
It all started when Dad backed his Toyota right through the wall. Then he panicked, put the car in drive, and roared full throttle into the garage.
Right on the top of the parked car. That's what happened.
Dad phoned his son and told him there had been a minor mishap.
I actually expected a slight dent or a scratch or something like that. I mean, for a few minutes I didn't know what to say yet.
He has forgiven his dear old dad for wrecking his car, and his wife's car, and the garage.
He's an excellent dad, but I think his reversing has got a bit to be desired yet.
With so many bad drivers on the road, you might feel safer taking the bus. But you'd better choose your bus driver carefully. Sometimes catching the bus can be difficult, especially when there's no driver behind the wheel. This bus driver forgot to put on the parking brake. Then he got his arm caught in the door. Eventually, the tree stopped the runaway bus and no one was hurt. We all get stuck in traffic, but very few drivers get stuck like this. This woman didn't follow directions and wound up driving into wet cement. You've got to feel pretty dumb pulling a stunt like that.
Silly, I think, would probably be a better word. She's very upset with herself at this point that she didn't realize what she had done until it was too late.
Now that's embarrassing, but she's not the only one. Here's another driver in the same sticky situation. made worse by the fact that a news crew just happened to be passing by.
What's that for?
Local news, what happened here?
A man came at me out of this lane and I just swerved to the right. I don't want this on TV.
Maybe she should have thought about that before driving into wet cement.
Well, there are a lot of things that occur out there on the highway. It amazes even us when we're riding down the highway. As soon as we think we've seen it all, something new pops up.
Like this. Any dog can get a license, just not a license to drive. But that didn't stop this pooch. Officer James Myers describes how Scraps got behind the wheel and drove this 2-ton pickup.
It took off, came this way, and as it did, it came through some cars over here, made a right-hand turn, started heading south to the parking lot over here.
But Scraps wasn't through yet. He zoomed out of the parking lot through this Ohio cornfield, then barely squeezed the truck between these two trees before slamming head-on into a telephone pole. The owner of the truck, Brett Donahoe, had gone into the store to buy flowers for his girlfriend and dog biscuits for Scraps. But he made one big mistake. He left the engine running. Scraps knocked the gear shift into drive and was off to the races. Brett thought the truck had been stolen, but when he called 911, the operator let him in on a little secret.
I said, don't tell me that dog took my truck. And she says, yep.
Brett says he's forgiven Scraps, but no matter how much the dog begs, no more driving. Most animals don't need a vehicle to qualify as a road hazard. That was certainly the case with this racehorse who wandered away from his barn and onto the freeway. Watch again. Police are warning cars to slow down, but this driver keeps speeding along and almost runs into some real horsepower. Luckily, the horse wasn't hurt. After a few minutes, he was safely corralled and returned to his barn. Now for a hitchhiker with just about as much horse sense as that horse. That's a 13-ton truck swerving to miss the 190-pound hitchhiker. With no regard for his own safety, he wanders out into traffic. Looks like the only ride this guy's going to get is in an ambulance.
Don't you just hate those people who seem to be doing just about everything but driving when they're sitting behind the wheel?
They're putting on makeup, fixing their hair, eating a burrito, talking on the phone, reading, even acting like rock stars. If you're on the road long enough, you're bound to see it all.
I ride on a motorcycle and we have a very good view when we come up beside somebody and seeing sexual acts and naked people and, I mean, you name it.
Speaking of sex, this couple just couldn't wait to get to the motel down the road. A cop on a freeway overpass spots these lovers in the act and calls the emergency phone next to the car. And incredibly, the driver gets out and answers it. He then tells the cops to mind their own business, waves, and picks up right where he left off. Over in this car, another couple is having a totally different experience. These two are definitely not driving down Lover's Lane. Finally, the cops pull them over. An officer tells the driver to get out of the car, but he and his wife are too busy arguing. Later, the driver would tell police he thought swerving all over the road would get his wife to shut up and stop yelling at him. Now he's in trouble with both his wife and the police.
Still to come. A driver looks for relief on the side of the road. And the worst drivers ever caught on tape.
Before we take a look at the worst drivers ever caught on tape, it's important to remember that we can all learn from their mistakes.
Like the driver who failed to look both ways before pulling into the intersection. Fortunately, the cyclist made a full recovery from his injuries. This driver thinks he owns the road and the sidewalk too. Watch as he narrowly misses these two guys on bikes. He maneuvers around another bad driver on the sidewalk. Then, he decides to drive on the wrong side of the road. He is eventually stopped by police, but not before he has driven nearly a half a mile through oncoming traffic. What happens when a 13-foot-high truck tries to drive under a 12-foot-high bridge? This driver was looking for a shortcut and wound up plowing through a farmer's field. I'm sure the farmer wasn't too happy, but at least we've solved the mystery about those crop circles. This driver finally realizes he's going the wrong way on the freeway. So he pulls into the breakdown lane and tries to figure out what to do next. He needs to get to the other side of the freeway, so he decides to play road planner and create his own personal on-ramp. This is an extremely dangerous move. Not only is he risking being hit by oncoming traffic, he's also taking a big chance that he won't be able to safely emerge onto the other side of the freeway. 5 minutes later, he heads back to his car, then slowly squeezes between the cones and drives off. But his attempt to save time backfires when he is later pulled over and detained by police. The driver of this truck belonging to Zippo's Circus didn't notice how narrow the street was. He also failed to notice the sidewalk and a couple of trees. He attempted a U-turn and got wedged in. Authorities had to cut down one of the trees to get the truck out. Guess who was behind the wheel when the accident occurred? That's right, Zippo himself. We've all been in situations where the most welcome sight on the road is a restroom. Apparently, this guy couldn't find one. This is more than just disgusting. It's also illegal. A female officer approaches. She doesn't give the driver much time to conceal the evidence. This is one ticket he could have easily avoided. He was only 100 yards away from a service station. Now, the worst driver ever caught on tape. Not because of this move, or this one, but this one. That deserves another look. First, he plows into the side rail. Then he drives into the side rail. And if at first you don't succeed, now that's what I call bad driving.
The world's worst drivers, caught on tape, will return in a moment.
With more and more bad drivers on the road today, defensive driving is our best hope for survival. For the world's worst drivers, I'm Sheriff John Bunnell. Stay safe, and remember, always wear your seatbelt.
Just when you thought it was safe to go back out on the road, here they come again. More of the world's worst drivers.
Oh my God. Something I've never seen before and never expected to see.
Bad drivers are everywhere, and they're a threat to all of us.
Oh, what a mess.
Drivers so dumb, so dangerous, that even the cops aren't safe. From the slow lane to the fast lane to the carpool lane.
Over the fence, right into the water.
These drivers break all the rules.
You believe we got this on tape?
Some are mad.
They grabbed me left and right.
Some are bad. And some are completely insane. Whether on a drunken spree,
I'm drunker than a skunk,
or just out for a joyride, they all have one thing in common. They're completely out of control.
I will not warn you again, sir. I will take you straight to jail.
Tonight, the world's worst drivers caught on tape. Buckle up. It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
Good evening. I'm Sheriff John Bunnell. You see them wherever you go. Running stoplights, tailgating, cutting in front of you. Who are they? Bad drivers. And they're a nuisance to everyone on the road.
Check this out. A car with a stuck gas pedal that's doing more spins than an Olympic ice skater.
It was something I've never seen before and never expected to see.
This dumb driver lost her keys, so she decides to start her car with a screwdriver. But then to make matters worse, the gas pedal jams, and she can't stop the car, so she bails out.
She didn't have a lot to say. She just told me that was her car and had about a half tank of gas in it, and she went back in the house. She wasn't too concerned.
A crowd gathers, but no one can figure out how to get close enough to disable the vehicle. Then, after the car has been spinning out of control for 20 minutes, it parallel parks itself at the curb, allowing officers to rush in and shut it off. You think you've got problems with your engine running hot?
Stand back from the car.
Then meet a guy who must have run out of space in his garage, because look at what he's got stored under his hood. Tools, oily rags, even a propane gas canister. No wonder a fire got started in there.
It's disgraceful how anybody could store rubber materials and flammable materials and LP gas bottles in their engine bay. It's just beyond belief.
Here's a dumb driver who got caught with his pants down. It seems as if his girlfriend couldn't wait to get to the motel down the road, so she took matters into her own hands.
Stepping out here with your driver's license, please.
Watch how he tries to conceal the evidence.
You have a driver's license?
His problem started when he got out, and it's obvious that what he was doing in the vehicle was not driving. His shirt's out of his pants, and his belt's unbuckled, and he's trying to zip himself up. I do believe that the passenger was performing some kind of sexual act on him.
Stay right here.
This cop knows something is up, so he decides to check with the girlfriend.
You bothering him driving? I seen your head jumping around over there. I could tell that she was extremely nervous and that she was kind of embarrassed over the whole situation. You ain't paying attention to what you're doing?
Yeah.
Or is she helping you too much or what?
No.
Knowing the officer could have given him a ticket, this driver is happy to get off with a stiff warning and some friendly advice.
You can't drive. If you need to take a rest, go ahead and take a rest. If you want her to drive, let her drive. But don't end up in no ditch, all right? And this stuff definitely needs to be in the bedroom. We don't need this on the highway. Y'all be careful.
All right.
Yeah, careful not to get caught with your pants down.
There are two important rules you must follow to be a good driver. When you want to go, step on the accelerator. When you want to stop, step on the brake. When you can't decide which is which, then you've got a big problem.
It's lunchtime at a suburban sandwich shop. Here comes their first customer now. Somebody should tell this guy that the drive-thru is around back. Parking is always tough at the DMV, so this lady decides to park across the street.
When she left the parking lot for some unknown reason, she was unable to make a turn and came across the street and hit the side of the house here.
Thankfully, no one was injured, but this house is now on the critical list.
My car is it was in the garage, parked inside of the garage.
Where is it now?
In the living room. Oh, what a mess.
This driver had better go back and take that eye test one more time. This man hit the gas instead of the brake and destroyed a restaurant. To make matters worse, it was his restaurant. Even worse, it was the opening day of his restaurant.
I was standing here and I saw them pull up. I saw him go over the curb and I was thinking, oh, he better stop before he hits the window.
This is probably not the grand opening he had in mind. And here's another restaurant that's been air-conditioned for your comfort. Surprisingly, the owner has a good-natured reaction.
Suddenly, a car drove into my store. I didn't think this is a drive-through store.
But this is a drive-up ATM. Drive up, drive through. Evidently, it's easy to get confused. And now here's one more dumb driver who couldn't find the brake pedal. Moments later, he was parked on the bottom of this retirement home swimming pool.
All of a sudden, we hear a crash and we jump up from our chairs and look to the right and we see a car come over the fence right into the water and go under.
With a big like a bomb. Such a crash like a bomb.
The driver swam to safety. And the ladies, well, now they have a great story to tell their grandchildren.
We were sitting right
here.
If it would come through here, we would be all dead.
We would have been killed.
So remember, the brake is the big one on the left. Keep that in mind the next time you're looking for a parking place.
With all these bad drivers, are we safe on our streets? The truth is not really. We're in a lot more danger than we think. Ask anyone who's ever survived a near miss.
Here's a man who was caught on tape as he crossed the street. You won't believe what happens next. Watch again. The truck barrels through the intersection, hitting the black car, which skids out of control into the crosswalk. With no time to think, he leaps out of danger. His lightning-quick reflexes save his life. Here's another pedestrian crossing the street. First, the bad news. A truck speeds through the intersection and sends him flying. But now for the good news. He's hit by an ambulance. Amazingly, the man isn't hurt. He walks away unharmed.
Furthest thing from my mind is that I'm going to get hit by a car.
Coming up next.
Oh my God!
Whether rain, snow, sleet, or hail, nothing can keep these bad drivers off the road.
Oh my God, what's over?
Plus, meet the dumb drivers who park their cars in all the wrong places. And later,
I was like, man, just put the gun away.
A fender bender explodes into a deadly game of road rage. Plus, a driver gets caught in a high-pressure situation when the world's worst drivers continue.
When the weather turns bad, driving can be a nightmare. A smart driver will slow down and keep a safe distance between himself and the car ahead. And a bad driver, well, he's probably better off taking the bus.
Then again, maybe not. The passengers on this Dallas bus are holding on for dear life as the driver desperately tries to pull out of a slide. Watch again. It looks like the end of the line for these riders. I guess the driver should have waited for the salt truck. Oh, here it is now. Same icy street moments later.
Oh my God!
You're hearing the guy who owns this smashing new sports car. Better make that a smashed sports car. Now it's really a compact car.
Oh my God!
Most places you will need chains, even on an icy road. If you don't use the chains, you're gonna slide, you're gonna lose control of your car.
There's nothing worse than finding yourself broken down on a snowy freeway. See that moving van with its blinkers on? That driver can breathe a sigh of relief because a tow truck has come to his rescue. The tow truck driver needs to turn around in order to pull the stalled van off the freeway. But incredibly, he decides to do this by pulling out into 4 lanes of oncoming traffic. Big mistake. Watch again as this brainless tow truck driver tries to make a U-turn. The oncoming cars never have a chance to slow down.
When you hear that the weather is bad on the news, you need to be more patient with your driving. Give yourself extra space, an extra space cushion, more time to stop if you need to.
Want proof? Check out this rain-slicked freeway near London. The red sports car is going way too fast for these hazardous conditions. The driver skids, panics, and pulls around the van, then spins wildly out of control. He moves safely on down the road, but look at the mess he causes behind him. Traffic slows, but the driver of the white truck isn't paying attention. He skids into one car, then hits a truck, then sets off a chain reaction 2 lanes over. The driver in the back swerves to avoid the pileup. Here it is again. It's obvious that these drivers are going too fast. And their recklessness causes thousands of dollars in damage. They were all in a hurry, but now they're going nowhere.
Sometimes people really mess up. They make bad mistakes because they're in a rush, they're in a hurry. Rushing can become a habit.
Even if there's just a little rain on the road, it's tough to stop when you're driving too fast. Here at this icy intersection, one of Chicago's finest has been dispatched to work an accident. The driver of the blue car is so busy rubbernecking, he almost forgets to stop at the red light. But this white Volvo has no trouble stopping, thanks to the brown car.
You idiot!
He tries to leave the scene of the accident, which is pretty hard to do on solid ice. So our helpful officer invites him to pull over for a safety chat. But then the driver of the white sedan gets what's coming to him. In this case, a big red truck. The owner of the truck feels bad, but not as bad as this driver when he rear-ends a police car. All these stories have the same moral.
Oh my God, God flipped over.
If you have to drive in winter weather, you better slow down and keep your cool.
Good drivers use good judgment. They say things like, traffic is heavy, I think I'll be extra careful. Bad drivers use bad judgment. They do things like parking their 2,000-pound truck on top of a frozen pond.
It's amazing how smart people can do such dumb things when it comes to their cars. This man is reviewing the owner's manual for his expensive new car. That's because he's trapped inside, thanks to his expensive new car alarm.
Is there anything in there about the locking mechanism?
After a night of drinking, he wisely decided to sleep it off. Too bad he lost his keys, which he needs to disarm the anti-theft system.
We tried to Slim Jim it. Tough car to get into. Tough car. That thing really did work.
Maybe the manufacturer should have installed sleeping bags instead of airbags. Finally, an officer breaks a window and the man crawls out. And what's the lesson here?
So don't drive and drink. That's about it.
Tuesday is Ladies' Day at the car wash, but I guess this driver couldn't wait. So she drove around a police barricade and into this flooded street.
It doesn't say closed, keep out, or nothing. And I started in, and this is where I'm at.
I guess she thinks it's okay to ignore police roadblocks that aren't properly marked.
And I think the highway department should certainly put closed, stay out, or something on their signs when they put up a barricade.
Yeah, and maybe they ought to send out engraved invitations the next time they shut down a street, too. Everybody knows it's against the law to park next to a fire plug, so this guy decided to park on one instead. It just goes to prove, if you use bad judgment while you're driving, you're going to end up in a high-pressure situation.
Next up, the most amazing crashes ever caught on camera.
I believe we got this on tape.
Plus, when tempers get hot, watch out for road rage. And later, a drunk driver invites the cops out for a few drinks. Don't go away. There are plenty more of the world's worst drivers when we continue.
If you've ever been involved in an accident, you know how scary it can be. One minute you're safe and secure behind the wheel. The next you're holding on for dear life. And it all happens in the blink of an eye.
This is a computer store in a quiet Pennsylvania town. It's not quiet anymore. This driver fell asleep on his way to work and woke up here.
It was just a loud crash. It basically shook the building quite violently. Obviously didn't know what was going on.
The store is destroyed and the driver is okay, though a bit shaken up. Guess he wasn't expecting a hard drive this morning. Here's a similar crash, but this one's no accident. These crooks use a stolen Range Rover to smash in the wall of this London warehouse. First, they back their vehicle out. Then the thieves rush in, grabbing everything in sight. The Rover does double duty as a battering ram and a getaway car. Now check out this reckless driver. He's too sleepy to notice the police car in his rearview mirror.
Well, you just saw that maneuver. I'm not quite sure what that was. I see him crossing the center line there, driving right down the middle of the roadway. 46 and a 35.
Keep your eyes on the right side of your screen. The driver pulls to the right and slams head-on into a light pole. Watch again. Just as the officers are about to stop him, he does their job for them.
You all right?
He's all right, and you can bet he's awake now.
Do you believe we got this on tape?
The driver of this yellow pickup truck slipped away from a rural gas station without paying. He didn't realize that a state trooper was watching nearby.
Left the center there by about 6 inches. I want to stop it here. About 60 on
The flashing lights go on, but this dumb driver thinks he can get away.
Stand by, it's not stopping.
Now remember, this is a dark country road and the trooper is without backup. He certainly didn't expect what happens next.
84, it's turned into a driveway here.
The driver abruptly turns onto a side road. The trooper follows. But then, this dummy thinks he can get away by backing up, but the police car is behind him.
Oh my God!
Once again, the suspect rams his 3/4-ton pickup truck right into the front of the police car.
84, it's ramming their car! It's ramming their car!
The trooper's car is disabled. He's trapped.
84, get us some backup here. Signal 5.
The second massive jolt takes out the dash cam.
Fortunately, the trooper was finally able to gain control of the situation and take the suspect into custody. Most collisions happen so fast, there's no time to react. Sometimes you just have to be lucky.
My mom thinks there was an angel in our corner.
that was like just taking care of us or something, because everyone we've talked to just said that was it. We should have been dead, both of us.
Ronald and Melissa Miller had just celebrated their first anniversary. While heading home on a rain-soaked freeway, they tried to avoid a stalled car when they suddenly hydroplaned out of control. Watch again.
We came up underneath the bridge, and next thing I know, we're just sliding sideways. Didn't even see the water. And by the time we saw it, we hit it, and the car just started spinning.
Just out of nowhere. It's horrible, because we didn't know what was going on.
And the car just totally did like a 180 and hit the wall.
And Ron said that we needed to get out of that car. I knew that we had to get out immediately before anything worse could happen.
Ron knows that they are in mortal danger, and this local TV news footage proves him right. But before he's able to pull his bride to safety, look out! A 2-ton truck driving too fast for the hazardous conditions plows into the Miller's stalled car. Melissa is helplessly trapped inside. Watch again.
I could see pieces flying everywhere. And Melissa, I could actually see Melissa still in the car, going with the semi, and I just started screaming.
I don't know what told me, get out now, you know? It's just, you do. And I know Ron was standing there against the side of the road, and I had to get out.
Somehow, Melissa escapes the wreckage and huddles with her husband by the center divider. Amazingly, paramedics are nearby tending to another accident. They try desperately to get across the crowded highway to help, but then another speeding driver demolishes the Miller's car.
It kind of happened so fast, the adrenaline just kicked in. Everything just felt like it happened in seconds.
Look again as the sedan smashes into their car. Melissa barely escapes in time.
I just turned around and started screaming out my wife's name.
I just heard this horrible crashing noise. And you could hear it scrape down the median wall. A wretched noise. It could have been fatal.
Their car is destroyed, but incredibly, Ron and Melissa are able to walk away.
After we finally did manage to get back over the wall and start to cross the road, you know, we were holding hands, just feeling exactly how lucky we were to still be together and have each other after a horrible ordeal like this. I don't think people realize really how dangerous a car can be. It's very possible to get killed on the roadways, to kill other people, and it's taken for granted that everything's going to be fine, everything will be safe, and you never know what's going to happen.
When we're on the road, we need a certain amount of personal space to feel safe. But when a reckless driver gets too close, tempers flare. Be careful. You'd be surprised how quickly a tiny altercation can escalate into a deadly game of road rage.
This conflict on a Miami Beach street corner begins with a minor fender bender.
Got it on camera. Unbelievable.
But then, these tough guys decide to settle things their own way. The fight doesn't end until one of the men is body slammed to the street, knocking him out cold. The other driver leaves the scene with the smug satisfaction that he's won this round. But why did it happen in the first place?
The factor above all else that will promote road rage is endangerment. You know, somebody cutting you off, tailgating you, or fender bender. That will promote road rage above everything else.
As our highways get more and more congested, road rage gets worse. According to the AAA, explosive encounters such as these have increased 50% in the United States since 1990. And the problem's not just here at home. Santiago, Chile. After a traffic dispute, these hotheads throw some punches. Now one of the driver's girlfriends moves in. It looks like it's over, but then words are exchanged, and the fight really gets ugly. This public brawl in New Zealand started over a parking space. And these South American drivers got into it when gridlock ground traffic to a halt.
The main problem is a lot of people get angry behind the wheel. It doesn't even occur to them to calm themselves down. They just want to vent it and express it against anybody they can. Most road ragers do not have a generalized anger problem. So if somebody is stopped by a police officer and he starts attacking his own car, it's not just a manifestation of road rage. This person probably gets very angry at relatives, friends. He has a problem and needs help.
So how do you keep your cool when tempers get hot?
To avoid becoming a victim in a road rage situation, if somebody gets angry at you and they're beeping the horn because they're angry or they're making obscene gestures, you want to go on as if nothing happened. You especially want to avoid eye contact. You just want to continue.
Hot-tempered drivers, you better wise up, because now more than ever, the cops are turning up the heat. But sometimes road rage gets even more violent. This man is running from police after he pulled a gun on another motorist.
And he got like 10 feet with me with the gun, and then I was like, man, just put the gun away, put the gun away. And he's like, I'll kill you right now, I'll take your life.
And now he's making things even worse. He's calling 911 from his cell phone, threatening that if the pursuit doesn't end, he'll pull into a filling station, ram a gas pump, and cause a massive explosion.
Westbound 5th, approaching Euclid.
The California Highway Patrol tracks him from the air, and local police assist them on the ground.
Okay, looks like they're at 6th Street, continuing southbound Sultana from 6th.
He barrels past vehicles at 100 miles per hour, then cuts across highway lanes with no regard for human life. The police close in. A patrol unit rams him, but he gets away. Another unit fails to stop him. But moments later, officers trap the suspect on a center divider of a residential street. He flees, and another motorist is first to give chase. The suspect runs into a backyard where he's finally captured.
Stopped right there. My buddy here's pulling in front of him. He ran by and we chased him. I tackled him in the backyard.
This desperate driver's been caught, but he's already planning his lame defense.
Police tried to kill me, all right?
You see what they did? I was driving calmly. They ran me left and right.
Hey, tell it to the judge. You're now facing charges of brandishing a firearm, assault with a deadly weapon, and evading arrest. Forget about being behind the wheel. You're gonna be behind bars.
Still to come.
Let's get on with the BS here.
The crazy excuses drunk drivers use to avoid a trip to jail.
Which one's your glass size?
Plus, a driver's so courteous, she signals before tearing up the front lawn. And later, a garbage truck that makes house calls.
I really have no comment.
When the world's worst drivers continues.
When a drunk driver gets behind the wheel, he's a danger to himself and everyone else on the road. But since a DUI is a serious charge that can result in losing your license and spending time in jail, it's amazing what some people will say to avoid arrest.
Man, I didn't do nothing wrong.
You got your truck stuck out here in the field. You're out here driving the truck and you're drunk.
A Florida sheriff's deputy found this driver stuck in the mud near a county road.
All right, I'm asking you to take a couple tests for me. Stand back here.
I can't.
You can't? Why not?
Well, one reason, I'm drunk, man.
You're drunk?
Well, he's got that much right. But now he cooks up a plan. He thinks if he's funny, he might be able to laugh himself out of trouble.
What's your level of education?
I got 20 years of education. I graduated 10th grade twice.
Okay. You graduated 10th grade twice.
Yeah.
And so you got 20 years of education.
Yeah.
This joker thinks he's a stand-up comedian, but his next booking is going to be a held-over engagement at the county jail.
I'm drunker than a skunk.
People know when they're going to get arrested, and they will try to say anything, offer you anything, do anything to get out of being arrested for DUI.
You understand what we want to do? So start with your right foot.
I know what you want me to do.
Okay.
This man is being given the standard eye test.
Okay, now I'm going to move this light back and forth. Okay, I want you to follow my finger. Okay, can you do that?
His whole head keeps moving.
and he keeps moving back and forth. You try to tell him, look, keep your head still, keep your head still. All I am keeping my head still.
Hey, Augustus, you need to listen to me now, okay? No, follow the finger.
This driver knows he's in trouble, so he comes up with what he thinks is a foolproof excuse.
I got a glass eye. Which one's your glass eye? You can't have two glass eyes, Augustus. Don't give me that. Don't give me that.
But this cop sees right through his lame excuse. So it's off to the drunk tank for him. And finally, here's the dumbest approach ever used to avoid a drunk driving arrest.
It's a 35-mile-an-hour speed zone. He was driving 65 miles an hour, and he was driving from side to side, and he was running cars off the street.
I smell a little alcohol on your breath, sir.
This 85-year-old driver has clearly been drinking.
When he got out of the vehicle, his pants were unzipped, his shirt tail was out. He had a little white hard hat on his head. He said that was to protect his computer, his brain.
Now look how he tries to get on the officer's good side.
You want to take a beer, come to my house, I got plenty of beer. Okay.
He told us he had been drinking all day and said he had plenty of beer at his house, and if we wanted to come drink some beer, to come on over. And he reached out and patted me and said, "You too, lady."
Okay, you too, baby. You too. I got a lot of beer.
Any question about this man's sobriety was answered during the routine vehicle check.
I don't know if he was collecting aluminum or what he was doing, but the backseat of his car was full of beer cans, empty beer cans. I threw my hands up to my head like, oh my God, you know.
Better can the social invitations, pal. You're going off to the slammer.
Next, angry drivers caught on tape.
I will not warn you again, sir. I will take you straight to jail.
Plus, who's driving this car? Apparently no one. And you wouldn't think this lady could survive this. But she got up, and she was just fine. The World's Worst Drivers continues.
When the average motorist gets a traffic ticket, he learns his lesson and hopefully becomes a better driver. But that's not how some people react. Some people go berserk.
You probably missed it, but there's 4 signs back there that say no left turn Monday through Friday.
Absolutely, I did not know that.
This woman has been stopped for making an illegal left turn.
Oh, don't give me a ticket, honest to God.
But when the officer asks for her license,
Let me see your driver's license, then maybe we can talk about something.
she becomes agitated.
I don't know where my driver's license is.
Relax for a second, just take your time and you'll be able to find it.
I'm so mad I can scream right now, okay? Can you reach for me? And driver's license is here. God only knows where it is. Do you mind if I take my car apart? Do you mind?
It's your car, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I know. I know it's here, but I don't know where it is. You understand how furious I am? I need that.
Okay, well, it's okay. It's in there somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah, you don't believe me. You do believe me that I do have my driver's license.
It's in there somewhere. I believe you. Well, just take your time. You'll find it.
The more the officer tries to calm her down, the more hysterical the woman
I
gets.
can't believe I don't have my driver's license. Oh, damn it.
But this woman's getting a ticket anyway because, license or not, she broke the law.
Ma'am, calm down.
You know how furious I am?
This next driver in Ottawa, Ohio knows exactly where his license is. Officer John Bunnell stops the man for speeding.
As soon as we pulled over, he threw his driver's license up on top, and in itself is really unusual.
You want to roll down your window, sir?
As the officer returns to his cruiser, the suspect becomes irate. He rips off his rear-view mirror and then continues to destroy the interior of his car.
I could see him, hitting the dash and reaching over and hitting the passenger side door. And a few seconds later, he threw his wallet out the window. And there's probably like $150 worth of cash lying down the highway. Vehicles running over.
Tell you what, sir. If you don't get out and pick all this stuff up, I'm gonna give you a citation.
This driver is clearly at the breaking point.
Problem, sir?
But notice how the officer keeps his cool.
Tell you what, sir. This is your first warning right now. Okay? You got some over here, too.
The suspect makes an obscene gesture, but the officer maintains control.
I warned you once of your conduct right now. Okay? I will not warn you again, sir. I will take you straight to jail.
After I gave him the citation, I was walking back to my car and I heard him say something. And then as he was driving off, he gave me another Heil Hitler salute. He wouldn't have acted the way he did, he might have got a warning, and it wouldn't have cost him anything.
But because of his big mouth, it's gonna cost him plenty. Now that so many helicopters are equipped with cameras, the high-speed chase has become a familiar part of the nightly news. But no matter what these reckless drivers are running away from, they have two things in common. They put innocent people in danger, and they always get caught. This woman must be the most courteous suspect ever arrested for felony evading. Although she's running from the law, look how politely she signals each time she makes a turn.
We're turning west on Hemlock.
Evidently, she feels that there's no room for rudeness, even during a high-speed chase.
I'm westbound, turning north on Park Avenue.
Look, she signals again, then drives right up this lawn. The police have no problem following her, thanks to her thoughtful signals. Needless to say, she gets caught. Now here's a driver who's not so polite. This female suspect is driving at speeds of over 40 miles per hour. Backwards. Helicopter police track her with the help of an infrared camera.
It's always said, well, if you don't pursue, they won't run. It didn't matter with her. She was going to run.
Officers prepare themselves for the worst as she approaches a major intersection.
We're anticipating a wreck. If she makes it across, it was a blessing. Fortunately for us, all of us made it through, very narrowly on her part.
An unidentified male companion is spotted in the suspect's car.
443, white passenger, he wants to bail.
Her male passenger was pleading with her, putting his hands together, praying, please, please stop this car, let me out.
Officers ram the vehicle, and the passenger escapes. At the next turn, the suspect's car is pinned against the curb.
We had thought the pursuit had ended. We were trying to open the door, we were trying to get her out, we were beating on the glass with flashlights, with weapons, and at that point we realized she's going to run again. As she drove away, she almost ran down my partner.
At least she's wised up. She's moving forward this time. Watch as she commits even more violations. She drives through her own yard, plows through a chain-link fence, and is back on the road.
If you can push that vehicle safely off towards the side of the road, see if you can get it done, we can get them stopped.
I had decided if I had to wreck my car, then it needed to be done now.
The officer rams the suspect one last time. Her vehicle is disabled. This chase is finally over.
This pursuit was one of the wildest, craziest, dangerous pursuits that I have ever been in.
Coming up, this could have been a disaster. But she walked away without a scratch. Then, meet the driver with 4 on the floor. 4 paws, that is. When the world's worst drivers continues.
So you think you've seen every example of bad driving? Well, think again. You ain't seen nothing yet.
Chelyabinsk, Russia. This woman survived a close call. And still had time to make it to the market. Bet she'll think twice about jaywalking again. Now, another lucky pedestrian who cheated death. Amazingly, this woman also gets up and walks away. What's worse than a dumb driver? No driver. Watch this home video from 2 college kids on spring break. They're convinced that the car ahead of them is haunted.
Now this is a headrest driving a car.
No, it's not a headrest. Better take a closer look.
Get closer. I'm trying, dude.
Sorry, boys, you won't be selling those pictures to the National Enquirer after all.
Oh, I saw glasses. There's actually a person there.
It's not a ghost behind the wheel, just a very little old lady. Now let's see some bad driving from an officer's point of view. This police car is responding to a call with its lights on and siren blaring. But these dumb drivers aren't pulling over. This one forces the officer to swerve to avoid a collision. And now he's traveling the wrong way on a busy highway.
Will not accept that it's a highly dangerous road.
Now it's off to Britain, where it's a red-letter day for this highway engineer. His safe new freeway has just opened to the public, and here he is bragging about how their high accident rate is a thing of the past.
In general, the accident rate on the A19 is below the national average.
Well, the boys from the highway department sure seem impressed with that. But look what happens next.
As soon as that work is finished, the Central Reserve safety...
Wouldn't you know it? And right in front of the TV cameras, too. What are the chances of that happening again? Pretty good, actually. And now a dumb driver who was pulled over for a traffic violation.
Turn around, put your hands behind your back.
But before you know it, he's leading the cops on a high-speed chase. On foot. Finally, he jumps in his car and speeds off.
805, Dylan, we need some help out here.
It's not exactly a clean getaway, though, considering there's a cop with a gun in the front seat next to him. Now here's something special for those of you who are tired of taking out the garbage. Meet a sanitation crew that makes house calls. And what do garbage truck drivers have to say for themselves?
I really have no comment.
And finally, meet a driver who stole a black sedan. Then realized that there was an angry pit bull in the back seat. Hey, wait a minute. Who's driving this car anyway? Another bad driver.
So remember, the best way to protect yourself against bad drivers is to slow down, keep your eyes on the road, and always wear your seatbelt. I'm Sheriff John Bunnell. Stay safe.
Pull over, park it, and get ready to do some serious rubbernecking. Because they're back. More of the world's worst drivers. And this time, they're on a roll.
Oh, somebody got that on video.
These slippery characters are all over the place. In the water, in the air, on the road, and always in everyone's way. They have no respect for property or authority.
I had enough of you.
Or even their own cars. From the passing lane to the crashing lane. These drivers are so bad they can't even park. But they all have one thing in common.
If you don't get that camera away from me, I'm gonna shove it up your ring piece.
And it's not a diploma from charm school. They're the world's worst drivers. Buckle up. It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
Good evening. I'm Sheriff John Bunnell. You see them wherever you go. Running stoplights, tailgating, cutting in front of you. Who are they? Bad drivers. And they're a nuisance to everyone on the road.
Look, here comes one now. Fortunately, the unsuspecting pedestrian and the mindless motorcyclist and his passenger are all unharmed. Sometimes the only thing protecting an innocent bystander from a bad driver is pure luck. Police officers are supposed to be the best drivers in the world, but sometimes even the pros make mistakes. Shelby County, North Carolina. Officers respond to a robbery call at a local bank. They radio for backup and button down the crime scene. The detective arrives in an unmarked cruiser and promptly makes a deposit, his car, right into the bank's window. He mistakenly stepped on the gas instead of the brakes. But at least there's no penalty for early withdrawal, just the endless razzing of his buddies. These valiant boys in blue are ready for another day of crime fighting, and this rookie can hardly wait to hit the streets. Literally. Take another look. He climbs the slope, kills the throttle, and kisses the blacktop. And you can be sure that the pavement tastes none too sweet. These firefighters are racing to the scene of a car fire. After negotiating his way through freeway traffic, the driver pulls his truck close to the blaze. A little too close. Now these guys can't even put out a fire on their own truck. The embarrassed driver can only watch as his shiny new fire truck goes up in smoke. Surely ambulance drivers are some of the best drivers in the world. Anxious to protect the public's health and well-being, this driver rushes to an accident scene with his siren blaring. He knows that speed is a must. Ramming into a parked car is optional. The driver backs up to survey the damage and to make sure that he won't have to pick up any extra passengers. Race car drivers are highly skilled, but here's a pro who's about to prove otherwise. Belfast, Northern Ireland. Midway through a road rally, this racer accidentally takes a wrong turn into a fence. Let's watch it again in slow motion. The fence post shatters the windshield and whacks the man in the face, but luckily he escapes uninjured. Our hero calmly pushes the pole back out of the windshield. It's a mistake that this professional driver will never make again. And now let's turn our attention to show-offs. What is it that turns normal drivers into thrill-seeking daredevils? Here's a guy who ought to know.
We were in Hollister Hills, California. It's an off-road park specifically for going out and four-wheeling. The hill was Truck Hill. It's steep, very steep. My cousin says, "You want to try that one?" It's like, sure. Load up, pedal to the metal, let's go. I wasn't nervous at all. I felt we could make it up this hill. It was tough, but I felt we could make it up, no problem.
But there is a problem. The rear axle on Mike's truck can't stand the stress.
About third way up, we started hitting a lot of potholes, offsetting. That's when it just snapped.
That wasn't good.
I looked down at my passenger, tell him, "Hold on, Ronnie."
Hang on to it, Mike.
After that is a tremendous noise. It was like being inside a dryer with a bunch of metal. And my next thought was, we're checking out. This is it. We rolled over 3.5 times. We don't have any control anymore. Now it's just a matter of hanging on. They pitched over, and now I'm looking straight down at my buddy. And I realize I'm not wearing my seatbelt. Everything and me are all flopping straight towards him. And as we kept rolling over, I'm going back from one side to the truck, back to the other side. It threw me out at the last minute.
Oh my God. Are you okay?
I'm thinking I'm okay, Ronnie's okay. Hey, somebody was taping. I hope somebody got that on video.
Hope somebody got that on video.
So I guess he's not going to be doing this again, right? Wrong.
One day I will go back up that hill.
In Brazil, they've invented a new motorsport. These show-offs are performing death-defying spin-outs within inches of their frenzied fans. They're deliberately doing donuts, but they're not enough to satisfy this thrill-hungry mob. So maybe they'd like a turnover. Look at this show-off. He's starving for a snack, but the concession stand is closed. So he opens it. And now here's a show-off with a taste for some chicken. A game of chicken in reverse with a bus. Watch again as the hotshot cuts off the bus. This driver nearly becomes an unscheduled bus stop. Rio de Janeiro. Teenage show-offs are turning public transit into a public nuisance with another new sports craze they call bus surfing. Good drivers should be aware of their passengers' whereabouts at all times. But this bus driver is oblivious to the hot doggers who've turned his single-decker bus into a double-decker. Here comes George of the Asphalt Jungle. Watch out for that tree. And of course, no bus surfing adventure would be complete without this show-off ceremonial victory dance. This German driving specialist could be considered something of a professional show-off. He's been hired to demonstrate a brand new car to an eager crowd of investors. And more importantly, his bosses. He starts with this flawless swerve and skid. But then, you could say this car company is rolling out the new models. The driver may have lost his traction, but not his status as the automotive world's biggest show-off. Long Island, New York. Two buddies are having some fun showing off their new Jeep and catching the action on video. It sounds like a good idea until the driver asks his friend to stand in the middle of the road with a video camera. Well, he speeds towards him in the Jeep. And what is the name of that valiant videographer? His name is Mud. Though not seriously injured, this filmmaker did suffer for his art. Now meet a couple of cut-ups showing off on a scooter. These guys are about to get a crash course called Humility 101. And they're going to learn their lesson the hard way. Here's a quick review. And class dismissed. Check out this shiny new Jeep straight off the showroom floor. What better place to drive it than the beach? But this new car owner should have checked the surf report before showing off for his friends. He's splashed into the waves in his styling new wheels and has gotten stuck in the sand. This deep-sea driver doesn't realize that you just can't drive through an ocean. The only way he'll get that Jeep out of there is if Moses comes along and parts the sea for him. Now the tide turns again as the waves overpower his beautiful new car. He can only watch helplessly as it floats away into the foam. This French driver must have a sinking feeling as his coupe becomes soup.
Coming up next, an out-of-control car does more spins than an Olympic ice skater. Plus, is jaywalking safe? Not when you're in the path of dumb drivers like this. And one motorist discovers that his compact car is no match for a full-size elephant seal. Plus, a routine traffic stop ends with a bang. When the world's worst drivers continues.
You can always spot a bad driver by the way he parks. So let's take a look at some of the world's worst parking jobs ever caught on tape. Here's a tip. If you've got bad brakes, don't park on an incline. The group steps off the curb. And their happy day goes straight downhill. Along with this poorly parked car. They say that in the future, cars will fly. This driver says, why wait? One minute he was rolling down the highway, and the next minute he found himself parked in the side of a semi. And the driver of the truck?
He felt a bump. I mean, he ends up checking his mirrors like they do often and saw a car there and said, well, time to stop.
This man loves to tinker with engines, so he rebuilt the family car with his very own hands and parked it in his very own home. Unfortunately, his very own home is on the 6th floor of this Russian high-rise. Not to worry, a 25-ton crane comes to the rescue. The man removes a picture window and gingerly nudges his vehicle out. careful not to scratch it. Betty thinks twice before he parks his car in the dining room again. Now the car slowly floats back down to where he once resided, the planet Earth. The high-rise repairman drives off into the sunset and into the biggest pothole in town. In Illinois, this elderly driver inexplicably parks his car on an empty stretch of railroad tracks. Luckily, a friendly citizen stops by to see if he can help. It takes a little doing, but the man finally persuades the motorist to make tracks, off the tracks, and none too soon. A train barrels out of nowhere, smashing into the car at 65 miles per hour. Thanks to the safety-minded passerby, the driver is alive. But his car, or what's left of it, is now a hood ornament on a 150-ton railroad engine. Here's another parking tip. Don't leave your car directly behind a 6-ton dump truck, especially when the dump truck driver is a dumb truck driver who can't afford the extra 2 seconds it takes to check the rearview mirror. The driver of this new subcompact should have thought twice before parking in a construction site. But this isn't the worst parking spot in the world. That would be here in New Zealand, where drivers trying to park at the Gisborne boat ramp have a huge problem. His name is Homer, and he's a 15-foot-long, 4,500-pound elephant seal who likes to turn their parked cars into punching bags. Watch as Homer goes 10 rounds with this late model sedan. Turns out, solid steel is no match for this heavyweight. And finally, from our All's Well That Ends Well department, in Alberta, Canada, neighbors, police, and firefighters are unable to stop this black car, which is spinning circles in the street without a driver.
When we arrived, the car was going into circular motion at fast idle, and we couldn't stop it.
And who's responsible for this out-of-control sedan? A dad who ran into the house and left the motor running and his kids in the back seat. His 5-year-old daughter and 6-year-old son shifted the car into reverse, then jumped from the spinning vehicle and escaped with little more than motion sickness. After 90 nauseating minutes of car spins, a tire blows, and the vehicle approaches Kathy Letty's house, where it very carefully parks itself in her front porch. And what was Kathy's reaction to the new parking spot?
I was just going to call it Kathy's drive-in.
Some of the world's worst drivers are the ones who can't keep their cool, even in their own car. These hotheads behind the wheel are mad as hell. Inverness, Scotland. This vehicle is broken down, and the driver is about to do the same. They say you can't beat a dead horse. Apparently, there's no rule about dead cars. The frustrated motorist tries to give it a kickstart, but to no avail. After a brief pause to collect his thoughts, he tries one last time to get a leg up on this limit. London, England, land of high culture, elegance, and refined manners. Or is it?
5 times in 2 weeks.
This driver quickly turns his anger from the policeman who pulled him over to the cameraman who's catching him on tape.
If you don't get that camera away from me, I'm gonna shove it up your ring piece.
Excuse me? That's not exactly the King's English, now is it?
I'm gonna shove it up your ring piece.
Well, that's not a very nice thing to say, is it? If you go anywhere near it, I mean, you'll get hit, right?
Get off of me!
What are you going to do about it, eh? You're going to hit me, are you?
Are you watching this?
Just get in your car and
get
go away.
Off of me!
Finally, the police officer has heard enough, and he offers the only sensible solution.
Just get in your car and go away, all right?
Hands off of me,
Go in your car and go away.
Meanwhile, back in the USA, this driver is being interviewed by police.
You've never been arrested before for anything?
No.
But that's about to change.
You have any trouble with me looking? No problem.
But in fact, there's a big problem, and it's about to send this driver over the edge. These officers must have found something they didn't like, because they handcuffed the driver and placed him in the back of the cruiser. And what do they find? A 15-pound bag of marijuana. As the cops continue their search, the suspect has a few moments alone to quietly reflect on the jail time he's facing.
Oh, I can't believe it! Oh, no! 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 God, I can't believe it! Oh, my God! Ah! Oh, my God! Oh, my God! Help me! Help me, God! Help me!
The driver tries to compose himself, but he can't.
Oh! Oh! No! Please, no! No, no, please, no! No, please! God almighty! No, please! Please, no! No! Oh, God, oh, God, oh, God! Help me!
Finally, the officer comes over to check on him.
What was that? You hollered late? No, sir, I'm just freaked out. I can't believe it's happening.
And we can't believe it was all caught on tape. So the next time you're feeling mad as hell, keep your cool and keep it to yourself.
Are you watching this?
Next up, have a ball with the guys who turned dangerous driving into a spectator sport. And when bad weather strikes, bad drivers hit the road. Then later, when a devilish driver takes too much BS from City Hall, he decides to give some back when the world's worst drivers returns.
Drinking and driving. It's hard to believe that despite all the warnings, some people still go straight from the bar to the car. Like this DUI suspect in Farmington Hills, Michigan. Officer Garen Anderson is in pursuit through 2 counties before the driver finally notices the red lights.
We went through the intersection, I turned on the lights, and the passenger came out of the passenger window and flashed me as we pulled into the parking lot. It was all downhill from there.
The officer approaches the car and finds 2 party girls who are practically naked.
How you doing, ladies?
We've seen you, we want you. We're sorry, we didn't mean to say that. You're pretty hot.
Well, thank you very much.
You got a big Billy Club or whatever they're called?
I've been married for 10 years, so it was just something blew my mind.
And just when Officer Anderson thought things couldn't possibly get any more bizarre,
the next thing I know is they were coming out the windows in their underwear and running through the sprinklers of the parking lot.
Oh, my. Ladies, come back to the car. I think they might have to go.
Officer Anderson and his backup approached the erratic drivers, turned erotic dancers to deliver the bad news.
Come on, ladies. Come on.
I've never been to jail before.
Well, you shouldn't have gone and ran through the sprinklers naked.
Please don't arrest us. We're normal girls.
So why were these normal girls driving around nearly naked?
The girls were out for a night of amateur stripping. The driver apparently had been dancing and was supposed to have won the contest that night.
Since stripping didn't quite work out for this second-rate showgirl, she now reveals to Officer Anderson her new career goal.
I'm in the criminal justice program. Do you think this is going to make me in trouble and I won't be able to be a cop now?
In her state of dress, I couldn't imagine her being a police officer. The most unimaginable or weird thing of the whole night is just to see these 2 women crawl out the windows of a car in their underwear and just go rollick in the sprinklers. This is a night most police officers would never even imagine.
Oh, my.
Rutledge, Georgia. Not all DUI suspects are behind the wheel of a car. Officer Keith Fitzgerald responds to a call about a drunk driver on a lawnmower.
When we pulled up, we saw an older fella on the lawnmower. I pulled up behind him and I honked my horn, and
He didn't even look, turn around and look, and wouldn't stop.
The lawnmower man leads Fitzgerald on a chase that reaches speeds of up to 3 miles per hour.
Finally, the guy started weaving back and forth to the left, to the right, and he started leaning over. And I was like, this guy's going to fall off the lawnmower.
Tired from the chase, the senior finally decides to take a nap.
We basically evaluated the whole situation and decided that the best thing for this guy to do was to take him home.
So remember, if you've hit the bottle, don't hit the road. Now let's take a look at an exciting new sporting event. Bad drivers from around the world are rounded up into a stadium for a game of car soccer. The idea is to get the world's worst drivers off the road so they can crash into each other for a change. Looks like these gas-guzzling gladiators have finally found a useful outlet for their deranged driving.
When the weather turns bad, driving can be a nightmare. A smart driver will slow down and keep a safe distance between himself and the car ahead. And a bad driver, well, he's probably better off taking the bus.
Here it comes now. Even though it's the great Russian hurricane of '98, neither rain, nor sleet, nor snow, nor apparently a flood of biblical proportions can stop this Moscow bus driver from making his appointed rounds. Watch again. Most guys would back up and take a detour, but this driver is determined to stay on schedule. Chicago, Illinois. Watch as a police officer gets an unexpected ice skating lesson on this frozen freeway. Brian Boitano, eat your heart out. Cobb County, Georgia. Watch the sparks fly as Officer Robert Quigley's car is hit with debris from a telephone pole that's just been shattered by a bolt of lightning. A moment earlier, lightning struck the pole just a few feet from the officer's vehicle, leaving him with nowhere to go, but straight through the fireworks. How shocking. In Toronto, Canada, freezing conditions turn Highway 401 into an icy nightmare. But it's really more like a bowling alley. This driver squeaks through the 710 split. Then along comes another one to pick up the spare. And to clear a lane for the next bowler. Here he comes now. Strike. Stalled in the snow, this Russian driver decides to jump-start his car in reverse. The car jumps, and the driver starts to chase him, straight into 400 pounds of frozen snow. More proof that when the weather turns nasty, don't get in your car. Get in your sweater and stay put.
Still to come.
Can we stop okay? Because I was looking for you.
You see road rage, now see meter madness. Drivers with too many tickets go on the attack. Plus, a motorcycle ride can be a pain in the neck when you don't keep your eyes on the road. And this driver's been pulled over, but she's not going to traffic court. She's going to the junkyard. Then, later, this deranged driver is falling apart at the seams, and so's his truck, when the world's worst drivers continues.
So you think you've seen every example of bad driving? Well, think again. You ain't seen nothing yet.
One of the best pieces of advice for drivers is to keep your eyes on the road. And here's why. Seguin, Texas. This woman was pulled over by State Trooper Christopher Heron for speeding on Interstate.
Let me get you come on over here, man. If you're up here and anybody hits the back of my patrol car, there's a good chance you're going to get caught somewhere in between that car and your car. And if you're not caught in between, you may still get struck by one of the vehicles. I don't want that to happen to you.
Suddenly, the officer's prediction becomes a reality.
Just like that, see? Just like that.
Just like that. The driver of the van wasn't paying attention. He took his eyes off the road and paid the price. There's good news for the woman, though. She's safe, and her car was a rental. California's Highway 2. A group of bikers motor through the mountains to take in the spectacular scenery. But one rider is about to create a spectacular scene of his own.
What we basically did is said, hey, we're going to stop at this scenic point right past the 2 tunnels. And I thought everybody knew where we were stopping.
Everyone, that is, except a biker named Ken, who's trailing the pack. He's so busy sightseeing that he doesn't notice these guys stopped ahead of him. Veteran biker Orlando Pablo takes the brunt.
I just saw Orlando go straight up in the air and right down on his head. Ken just got bruised up pretty bad. Nobody needed hospitalization whatsoever.
You all right? Yeah, I'm all right.
Ken wasn't cruising for a bruising, but on that day, that's just what he got. The Scottish Highlands. Police officers in an unmarked car pull over to assist a broken-down trailer, but their car won't be unmarked for long. That was a car crashing into a cruiser, crashing into a trailer. Here it is, as captured by the officer's dash cam. Could the driver see where he was going? Probably not with those pitch-black lenses. Hopefully he's learned a lesson. Don't wear dark sunglasses on a cloudy Scottish day. And finally, here's a motorcyclist who does have his eyes on the road. In fact, he's so focused on the road that he doesn't even notice the wire stretched across it. With no other riders to challenge him, this driver finishes the race unharmed and just under the wire. So remember, when you're in the driver's seat, keep your eyes on the road and yourself out of trouble. Glendale, Arizona. A man and his daughter are filming a commercial for a local car dealer. Dad's kind of nervous because the commercial features his baby. Not his daughter, Lisa, but his vintage T-Bird, which is worth over $75,000. Dad will be glad when he can get it safely back into the garage. Here comes take one.
My dad bought this car from Don Sanderson Ford 30 years ago.
Now here comes Lisa. She's a little nervous, but she's covering up nicely. All she has to do is simply back out of the driveway.
A lot of changes at Don Sanderson Ford. You look, you cut.
But instead of reverse, Lisa shifts into forward and runs right into Dad's classic car. Even though Lisa's bad driving was captured forever, her forgiving father kept his cool, and take two went off without a hitch. Is there a more thankless job on earth than meter maid? We went to England and found out that the answer is definitely no. 30 assaults on parking attendants are reported each week in London alone. You've heard of road rage. This is meter madness.
Hey. Now you're packing in. You do not touch me.
That's Nigel Monford, one of the most abused meter maids in all of London.
They all need a smack in the mouth.
I had enough of you and your parking tickets and everything.
How can these people talk that way to a man in uniform?
People definitely find it easier to yell at a meter maid than to a policeman. They don't feel as intimidated. The meter maid is not armed, does not have a gun.
I'm afraid you're parked in an active bus lane, sir.
You think there's a lady in a car?
No,
you lot
there's no driving. There's no. Thank you, sir.
Write your badge number.
Sorry?
Write your badge number.
It's already on the ticket, sir.
It's already on the ticket.
Here we go, sir.
Hey, you don't give me no time. You never give me jack.
I've tried.
Where you give me? What time you give me? Tell me what time you give me.
Nigel isn't London's only malign meter maid. There's also Emmanuel Smith. The parking attendant in the white helmet is issuing a ticket to this woman. Not realizing this, Emmanuel approaches the woman to issue a ticket as well, and she sees red.
Excuse me, I was talking to him, okay? He's the one who came along. Excuse me, he can give a ticket as well, can't he? Move your paper from there, okay?
Undaunted, Emmanuel proceeds to write her up.
Give me that paper, okay? Because I wasn't talking to you in the first place, okay? He was the one who came along for we having that.
Thank goodness backup arrives. Emmanuel's supervisor.
Please, there's no need to.
No, but if there's no need, why do you take the number in the first place?
Come on, discuss it with me.
Why do you take the number in the first place?
Sorry.
This woman won't even read the ticket, but she will read Emmanuel the Riot Act.
He's a parking officer. I am the only one who knows. What is he talking to me? Why did you budge him? Why did you budge him? He's a parking ticket officer.
Emmanuel takes her advice and does the sensible thing. He walks away. Unfortunately, she does too, directly into his path.
If you come close to my car, the police will.
Finally, the verbal abuse turns physical.
Okay?
Watch again as she reaches out and pokes Emmanuel right in the eye. Then she adds insult to injury.
Now, if you can't understand some people's problem, don't do the job.
Emmanuel Smith and Nigel Montfort, two of London's finest and most abused meter maids.
Up next, want a new TV? Here comes one now. And fasten your seatbelts, if you can find them. You're in the world's worst taxi. Plus, a driver in Britain has a smashing good time. When the world's worst drivers continues.
We all know what to do when we see flashing red lights in the rearview mirror. Safely pull to the side of the road and stop the car. But here's a handy list of what not to do. This driver's on parole and living with his mom. And how does he thank her? By stealing her car and leading police on a chase through their neighborhood. When he finally notices the red lights, he doesn't stop. He kicks open the car door and knocks over the neighbor's garbage cans. When he's done taking out the trash, he respectfully signals that he's headed back home. Where he gives the officers this explanation.
I don't like my neighbors. This is my house.
Is that why you did that? You don't like your neighbors?
Yeah, because they're always looking at what I'm doing, so just let them give them something to look at.
Well, the police are sure going to give him something to look at. The inside of a jail cell. Hamadale, New South Wales. A manic motorist shows us another example of what not to do in a police pursuit. He stole a semi and led police on a 240-mile chase. But he didn't bother to patch the hole in the side of the truck before putting the pedal to the metal. Now he's showering the road with the very merchandise he's trying to steal. But this driver won't stop yet. He keeps speeding along even though the side of his semi has been ripped open like an envelope on payday. Apparently, it never occurred to him that if you can see a large portion of your own vehicle in the rearview mirror, you should just give up. Well, this guy wouldn't give up until the next morning, when he realized there was nothing left to steal. He was booked on everything from grand theft to littering. This Ohio joyrider sees the red flashing lights, but instead of politely pulling onto the shoulder, he decides to rear-end the truck in front of him. End of story, but it's worth retelling. Dumb driver dashes, police light flashes, dumb driver crashed. Consider this the shortest police chase on record. This English motorist did pull over. So far, so good. But now he'll show you what not to do. He shifts his Range Rover into reverse and smashes into the cop car.
We've just been rammed by this Range Rover at Glenmore Road.
But he doesn't stop there. The driver takes off, leading police on a chase through the city. And moments later...
You gonna ram us again, over?
He does it again. So remember, if you see flashing lights, pull over. Or just like this guy, you could end up in the slammer. New York City, home of the most professional taxicab drivers in the world. Lima, Peru, where the cab drivers have only one thing in common with their New York counterparts.
Hay tantos huecos que la ciudad se parece a la luna.
They don't speak English either. Unlike America, in Peru it's relatively easy to become a cabbie. First you pick up the necessary equipment. Then you obtain an operator's license from the taxi commissioner. Here he comes now. The proper procedure for displaying said license is to moisten it, then stick it on the one spot where it will cause the maximum obstruction of your field of vision. Taxi driver Paulo Ramon proudly shows off his sparkling cab. It features the latest electronic ignition. Now Paulo shows us his daily safety check. Is the trunk securely closed? Is the license plate properly attached? Yes, on both counts. Is the climate control in working order? Yes, the state-of-the-art air conditioning unit works like a breeze. But as an extra precaution, coolant is added to the system to ensure maximum comfort for the passenger and maximum slickness for the road. Because of the bright daylight conditions, a headlight is hardly necessary. A final touch, a piece of high-tech equipment known as a knob must be painstakingly attached to the gear shift. Satisfied at last, Paulo is ready to hit the night shift. When push comes to shove, he's one of the world's worst drivers. It's Thanksgiving Day, but bad driving never takes a holiday. For instance, heavy rains have flooded out Daryl Cubine's usual shortcut through the golf course.
The whole course is a water hazard.
Daryl talks it over with his wife on the cell phone.
Going into the golf course, yeah, I'm wondering if I can make it through. The road's totally gone.
But is Daryl totally gone too? He drives straight into the golf course's brand new water hazard.
I'll make it.
But Daryl speaks too soon.
Oh, truck's filling up. The whole cab's full of water. This is unreal.
Oh, it's real, all right. Daryl can only sit on top of his truck and wait to be rescued. But he has plenty of time for another phone call to the folks back home.
I'm stuck out here. I'm sitting on my toolbox.
Rescue workers finally arrive and fish Daryl out. He makes it home for Thanksgiving dinner without his truck, but with a great news story. This bad driver in Lancashire, England, is about to drop a big surprise on the police officer who's pursuing him for reckless driving.
There was no indication that the occupants of the car had actually done anything other than a traffic matter.
But when Constable Allen fires up his flashing lights, the pursuit quickly escalates to over 100 miles per hour. The suspect weaves in and out of traffic, in his lane and in the oncoming lane.
I saw one of the males climb from the rear seat into the hatchback area. He then opened the tailgate from inside and then started throwing electrical goods at me. The first thing that came out was a TV set, which bounced down the road merrily and shattered into a million pieces.
The officer is now being bombarded with thousands of dollars worth of recently stolen fax machines, VCRs, and television sets.
You just don't expect when you get into this situation that people are going to start chucking TVs and videos at you as you're travelling down the road.
Undaunted by the home electronics obstacle course, Constable Allen continues the chase until the careless criminals are finally apprehended.
He probably thinks that he was the world's best driver, but without doubt that was probably one of the world's worst pieces of driving I've ever seen.
Have you caught any bad drivers on tape? Give us a call at 1-866-778-8743 or log on to worstdrivers.com.
Up next, this driver can't fight City Hall, so he decides to spray it with manure instead. When the world's worst drivers continues.
Whoever said don't get mad, get even would be proud of David Cannon, a determined driver from Morpeth, England. He felt he was getting a lot of BS from the folks down at City Hall. So one day, he went out to his barn where there was plenty of the real thing lying around. David grabbed the shovel and filled up his muck thrower, a gigantic farm machine that shoots fertilizer into his fields. Then he drove it over to City Hall, where the muck thrower lived up to its name. At the touch of a button, tons of cow manure fly through the air, causing the biggest stink in the history of local politics. The stunned workers can only stare in disbelief as their beautiful building is plunged into darkness.
The office workers was rushing to shut the windows because it was a fine autumn day.
David misses a spot, but always a stickler for perfection. He backs up to give it another shot.
And I lifted the lid and started again.
Finally, when David feels justice has been served, he prepares to head home.
It was the only thing I could think of that was going to bring attention to the public.
But unfortunately, it also brings him to the attention of the local police, who fine him $1,400 for his dirty little trick.
Some people think I'm crazy. I think I'm a real nice chap, really.
Not according to these office workers. You think your job stinks? Imagine how they suffered after being visited by one of the world's worst drivers. Tonight, we've seen some of the worst drivers ever caught on tape. So how do you stay out of their way?
The best way to protect yourself against bad drivers is to slow down, keep your eyes on the road, and always wear your seatbelt. I'm Sheriff John Bunnell. Stay safe